This is a
Yeah.
public service announcement
Wow.
sponsored by Just Blaze and the good folks at Rockefeller Records.
Finally here, y'all.
Fellow Americans,
Yep.
it is with the utmost pride and sincerity that I present this recording as a living testament and recollection of history in the making during our generation.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
Julian and Bruce. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Yo. What is going on? Wow. Huh. We had to reintroduce ourselves, you know what I mean?
Hey.
Welcome everybody, Bullion and Brews. I am here with my lovely co-hosts, Carrie Collier and Susanna Frazier. How y'all doing?
Whoop, whoop.
How are you doing? Oh my
I'm
goodness.
excited and I'm nervous at the same time.
Wow, I can't even believe it's the day. We've got a lot in store for you guys. Just a quick introduction, the reason why we started this, and we started this, Carrie, keep me honest here. I think you actually told me, yeah, you should start a podcast. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And this was like back in like maybe March. You're like, hey, you should start a podcast. And I'm like, oh yeah, that might be a good idea. That might be kind of fun. And so it's been in the making since March, right? And so I got the ball rolling a little bit. Carrie and I kind of threw out some ideas, and I'm like, I think Susanna would be an awesome co-host. So we brought her into the fold. And
Under
then
one stipulation. I don't know if that's the right word, but the name originally was
oh yeah, Booleans and Brew, and she had to correct me, and she said Boolean and Brews. So I stand corrected. I stand corrected, y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways,
So I said no to the original podcast.
yeah. So really quick story about how we met for some of you who don't know how we all kind of connected. So I first met Susanna. It was in Vegas at the blackjack table, and she was just such a hoot at the blackjack table. But here's the deal: like Susanna was already a legend by then because she had won a couple hackathons. Like she was.
I won
she
one
was like,
in Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
And she was like,
My
she
third
was
one.
like this engineer. Like, what did you graduate with? Engineer. Well, you'll say your
I went
story,
to school for engineering and business, and then my hairdresser said that I should be a tech recruiter because I was
Okay,
able to
so,
talk with like
yeah.
tech
So, anyways,
and I can talk.
I met her so I met Susanna in Vegas, and then a couple years later, we started working with each other at Walmart Labs or Walmart, right? And there was just like freaking just this dream team of
Dream
like
team, right?
sourcers,
It was a dream team.
just crazy. And so 6 months later, Amy Beth Quinn came into the fold. Hi, Amy Beth. Miss you. But anyways, Amy Beth came into the fold, and we were looking to add another sourcer, and Susanna and I were like, how about Carrie Collier? Because we had met Carrie at Austin.
No, you met me in SourceCon in Atlanta. You always get that mixed up.
Oh my god, dude! I forget. I've been to so many source cons. It's wild. But anyway, so we met.
Did I meet you
her
at
there.
that SourceCon too in Atlanta?
I don't
think
know.
so. I
Like
think that was
it's
the
all
first
such
time,
a
like-
blur.
I remember like hanging. I feel like Susanna, we probably chatted or something like, and then when we met each other, you were like, "Come hang out," and so like we played games and drank wine, and I think you had like your own wine. Which was so funny.
Yeah, that sounds like me. Okay.
Yeah, y'all were both like real busy because I think, well, it was my first time seeing you speak, and you got like real emotional, and then you were also like asking people to find your tennis shoe, like which shoe that was. It was that SourceCon.
Oh, okay. So that was the very last source con
Yeah.
before the pandemic hit. 2019, September 2019. Okay, now I remember, right? And we were trying to get you into
time ago.
Walmart. You interviewed, and Amy Beth went a different direction. Right? But it's funny because Susanna and I saw so much potential in you, Carrie, and like lo and behold, 4 years later, this girl is she's killing it right now, yo.
She's a
Killing
manager.
it. She is a very wanted person on the speaking circuit in PA, recruiting
Yeah.
conferences, everything. So shout out to you, Carrie. You know, so anyways, so this is
Oh,
how we all
dang.
met, and we just kind of have, I don't know, it's cool. Like we're going to talk about a lot of stuff here. TA news, pop culture. I'll tell you one thing we're not going to get into, okay? And that's politics. Okay, we're not going to get into politics. I just don't want the division because we about these good vibes. You know what I mean? So, we'll be talking about some beer, what we're drinking. We're going to be having some great guests on the show. Today, though, on our first episode, we don't have any guests because we are going to talk story and tell everybody our career journey and kind of how we got to where we got and things like that. So it's going to be cool. But without further ado, I kind of wanted to like get into this brew that I'm drinking. And so this is from South County Brewing. Shout out South County Brewing, York, PA. I actually got a tour with my buddies yesterday. And
Shoot, I saw those photos on Instagram.
yeah, aren't they amazing?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
I
Okay,
mean,
sorry.
listen, the brewery is so immaculate, and literally just blown away. And the reason, so I've been wanting to visit this place for a while now, and
Neat.
one of my friends, he's like, oh yeah, because I mentioned to him, I was like, hey, I want to go to South County Brewing. He was like, oh yeah. He goes, my brother owns it. I was like, huh? I was like,
Oh my.
and this place is just absolutely so posh. It's amazing. So, anyways, got a tour of the brewery and stuff, and had some great food, great atmosphere. Beer's really good. And so this beer right here is their gelato. And so
Oh my.
yeah, it's the pineapple coconut gelato.
Oh my.
And it's
Is it a sweet beer?
and it's an IPA.
Okay.
So
Ugh.
Interesting.
it's delicious though, I'll tell you that.
Yum.
So
So
hey, cheers.
fun fact. Cheers. Oh, well, I don't have a beer to cheers
I
with
know.
yet.
We're gonna cheers in a second.
Oh yeah, that's right. So anyways,
fun fact.
that's my
Hold on,
beer.
hold
What are you guys
Yeah,
what are you
fun
guys
fact.
drinking? Shout out to
Oh,
South
man.
County Brewing, York, PA. Thank you, Ben, for bringing us on the awesome tour, and shout out to my guy Joe, who was the guy who brought us there. And yeah,
Amazing.
So I love that just incorporated like a little friendship story for you because one of your friends, a different friend, also made the Boolean and Brews logo for us.
shout out to Lloyd Bandanillo out in California, Torrance, California. This is my boy from years and years ago. He used to like airbrush like t-shirts for me in the Westminster
Oh,
Mall.
nice.
Like,
Shoot.
and so he went from like airbrush artist to like being creative director at Mattel, and then he went
Nice.
on like had a couple other stints, and then he went to Razer. The guy's just an amazing artist, and shout out to Lloyd. Lloyd, thank you, my brother, for
Yeah.
the
you,
for the
Lloyd.
logo. Cheers to you, my friend. If anybody's looking for a great creative director, go hit Lloyd up. He's on the job market right now, y'all. Don't sleep.
Oh,
Mattel and
nice.
Razer. He was a creative director over there. Don't sleep on that guy. So there you go.
Sweet.
Word.
Carrie, what are you drinking?
Me? So, one of my very best friends for life that I've known since middle school, we went last year to Gordonsville.
Gordonsville. Okay.
Yeah, it's near Charlottesville. It's really close. And we went to a bar in Charlottesville, and we had a beer, and my beer was gross. And then she ordered this, which is Allagash White. I don't know if you can see
You
it.
got to go like this with your
Yep.
hand, like all of the like
Oh, yeah.
TikTok stars. Yes.
It's a Belgian style wheat beer with
Oh.
coriander and Caraco orange peel. Brewed and bottled by Allagash. They're in Portland, Maine.
Ooh.
Portland, Maine. It's really good, and it's like a
I
go-to
love
beer
it.
for me if people actually have
Belgian
it.
whites are my fave. Well,
Yeah,
top two faves.
same.
Oh, I didn't open it in the mic.
We have guests already lined up for every single episode. Oh, okay.
Yay.
So this beer is. That's me doing like the little TikTok thing with my hand. It's called DeClaw Brewing Company. Sour Me Unicorn Farts.
Whoa!
Wow, I love
Whoa! It's glittered sour ale. Ale brewed with fruity cereal and edible glitter.
it. Oh, that sounds delicious.
People are
On
you
that
pouring into a
note-
glass? Are you
You
gonna
ready
do a
for
glass?
Yeah, I'm gonna do glass, but you ready for the like? This is literally my favorite sound in the whole entire world.
All right, we're ready for it. Yes.
Oh,
Did you see it?
that was epic.
Winning. Yeah, so
Is there glitter? Is there glitter in it?
unicorn farts, and then it's going into my mug, which says, "Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy." Benjamin Franklin. Now, cheers on 3, guys. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3.
Cheers. All right. Should we get into it, Carrie? We got some TA news, some juicy TA news here.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on. So I thought it'd be cool to start with just layoffs in general and unemployment.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So June,
only
I hate
better
hearing
from
about
here.
layoffs. I hate hearing about layoffs, but we got to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm curious to know if it's actually slowed down because we had so many in the beginning of the year. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
we dropped 0.1% over.
damn,
Not
that's
like
it?
really a
Like
lot.
your company?
No, not my company, just in general. But there are 6 million people unemployed in America right now. So the unemployment rate is 3.6. And so each month, hopefully I'll be able to like share what that looks like.
I love the data. Good job with the facts.
Thanks, man. So specifically in tech, though, we went up. So it went from 2 to 2.3% in June. So we went up a little bit.
Damn
in tech layoffs.
Amazon.
Yeah, and several others, which I will definitely share. But we did add 206,000 jobs back into the market, and that's across all industries. And then trending up, sadly, where some of the more, I guess, common layoffs are happening are in government, healthcare, and construction. And speaking of construction, y'all, I found some interesting things, and just from like doing this in general, but then also on like a meme or something I saw on like
That's your line of work over there, Susanna. Aren't you in
Yeah. When, hold on, you said healthcare, government, and construction. Look at me like short-term. You said all of those are going
trending up,
like in terms of like laying more people off.
That's what it said.
Mother trucker.
I know. I was kind of like, so if you go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you look at that sentence, that's the way that I translated it. Feel free to correct me, anyone in the audience.
I mean, I wish I could because I'm in one of those industries, but
well, listen to this then, Susanna. I don't know if you knew this, but 41% of construction workers will retire by 2031. 1 in 5 construction workers are 55 plus. So if you think about it, 2031 is what, like 8 years away? Please hope my math's right. I feel like in this industry, it's not like highly sought after. And I don't know if it's salary because
everybody trying to get followers on the Instagrams. That's why.
Right. You're famous.
They're trying to be influencers, bro. They're trying to get that. They're trying to get that bag by getting 1 million followers.
Like and subscribe, guys. We're on YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my fall black plan. I just said fall black or that.
I'm totally predicting that there's an opportunity here for people to maybe consider construction because now is the time to get in, to become skilled yourself, so that when there aren't enough skilled construction workers in 2031, you're one of the ones that aren't retiring and you could probably name your price. Okay, so like I was saying, I'm just predicting that because there will not be as many skilled trade workers, that if you get into it now, you will have an opportunity to probably make good money in the future after 2031. And now is a good time because in trades, I feel like you don't just become an expert like overnight. It does take several years to like learn things and get like legitimately. Yeah. So that's just a thought. And it's also kind of scary because like, who's going to build the houses? So I guess as far as that, like, I just found that interesting and people are thinking about that. So that's something to just kind of watch, I guess, like what is going to happen? What's that impact going to be?
I wonder why there's been a trend with healthcare.
I don't know. I didn't see anything like, I didn't specifically research
government. Like government can be cyclical, but usually quite stable. So
the safe place, right?
Yeah. Ponder that. Yeah.
I guess as far as like companies that have laid off specifically in the tech space are Microsoft, Amazon, SAS in Raleigh, Amdocs, Evernote, and then Cisco actually did a round. So they announced in November that they were doing a restructure. And so I guess a round of let goes happened. in July. How do you find this information? Like, there's so many different sites, right?
So
I've
many. Oh,
Google
Cece,
what?
you mentioned like that you've been subscribing to a lot of newsletters and stuff to stay abreast of this.
Yes.
So do you use the tool unroll.me to collect all of your subscriptions? Have you heard
No,
of unroll.me?
I have not.
Louis,
What
have
is
you?
that?
Have
I
you
have.
really not?
I
Have
have.
you used it?
Unroll.me.
No, you know what? You actually put me onto that, Susanna.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
what it does is it rolls all of your subscriptions up into one daily email.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
it is really nice. And you have the ability to like toggle some subscriptions where they're immediately delivered still directly to your inbox, or they can be a part of that daily roll up. So I
Oh.
use that religiously so that my inbox isn't inundated with
Yes.
subscriptions.
But yeah, like as far as like layoff stuff, like do you guys use any special tools to stay in the know?
I use my
I use-
talent intelligence team at work.
Lucky you.
They're the ones.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Because
nice.
y'all have that talent sourcing research function, right?
Yep.
Oh
the
yeah, that's
same-
right.
So for those listeners that do not know, Chewy and I used to work together at Walmart, and we built out their first talent sourcing team under Amy Beth Quinn. And once we had that up and rolling. Okay, once we had that up and rolling, we then were able to build out the first talent sourcing research team, and I was actually the lead of that again underneath Amy Beth
Wow.
Quinn. So when you're talking
Yeah.
about like getting your news from the talent and intel team, I'm like, hey, like I remember
Yeah,
doing
that's
that.
right.
That was a good time. So
What
at
were your
Walmart
favorite
though, we
places?
used Evernote. Oh no, we did not. I'm just kidding. At Walmart, we used Feedly to feed a constant supply of news or layoffs and stuff.
Google, apparently their pay for 2022 for 12,000 US employees was leaked. That's on, I forget where I heard this, but if you just Google that, you're going to see it.
From
But
where?
That's
Levels
not a big deal,
FYI.
though.
I'm
I
just kidding.
don't know, dude. But the median pay apparently was 279,000. And the highest paid base was 718. It
Dude,
didn't
I'm all
specifically-
about that base.
Huh?
Ew.
Like, what was their bonus? Like, I'm just like, what?
Wait a minute.
then-
Cheers.
So,
That's a huge.
I have question. I have question.
Okay.
Like, okay, so now what is the majority like what are the titles? Are they mostly software engineers, or like are there product managers in there, like, you know, marketing
So-
coordinator, like
When I clicked, it wanted to take me to like somewhere that I had to sign up to
levels
like Forbes
FYI?
or something. This is in the news too. Return to office, big deal. Like lots of stuff happening in the world, right? Like I think we're
They
leaning
need to
towards.
stop it
days
with that
now.
already.
I know.
Like
There's a
for
lot of
real,
arguments.
like in my opinion, return to office, I think it's all about control. That's especially with Amazon, because you know the head dude at
Oh.
Amazon was basically like return to the office if not, you know what I mean? And it's like I
It's
feel
not.
like they're like it's like a control thing. Like
On
bro,
Twitter,
like if
right.
if your remote workers are
Yeah.
productive and they're doing good work, what does it matter? So I don't know. But I mean, I
I'm
get
with
it.
you. I'm with you.
But I
I
feel
think it
like
also depends on the occupation.
yeah, but I feel like
True.
the engineers, like the engineering teams and stuff, I get it. Like I feel like collaboration between engineers in office setting is probably a lot stronger than it is if they were remote and they were communicating over Zoom. Right? So I think there's some benefit in that, right? And I get it. But like if you're talking about like TA teams and stuff, like bro, we could do the
Yeah.
work like remotely,
For
you
sure.
know. So
You said the
Yeah.
word collaborate, and every single time I hear that word, I want to say stop, collaborate, and
collaborate.
listen. Yeah.
So like I feel like most of us have been like mostly remote for a lot of our career. Is that safe to say?
I
Yeah.
have been since 2014.
Yeah.
So
Me too, long time.
Yeah, long
Years.
time.
So, but don't you, when you go into the office though, like, aren't you like, oh man, like this is cool. Like I miss these people. Like I love being with my people.
You know
Do
what?
you
Here's
feel
the
that way?
deal. Like I love going into the office. The only
Like once a
problem,
quarter.
Right.
what's that?
Like
Like once a quarter.
Yeah, once a quarter. Like,
Yeah,
I
not like
even,
once a week.
Like, listen, I would do it once a month because I love my
Yeah.
coworkers so much, and I feel like and anytime I get a chance to go to New York to go chill with the
Yeah.
with the team, like that to me is great, So, but like
Do you miss it?
do I miss being in the office? Uh, there are there are some aspects that I miss, I mean, it's
Like the snack machine. I
the snack
love free
machine or
snacks.
cooler talk or whatever. By the way, our corporate office our office in New York has great snacks, so I'm just gonna put that out there. Not to mention we got a little view of the Empire State Building, so it's nice views. It's nice views. We're on 74th floor, so it's pretty dope.
Wow.
But
Hey.
yeah, it's cool. But I mean, listen, would I go back into the office? Hell no. You would never, ever convince me to go back into the office 5 days a week. Because I
No
tell you
way.
why.
Well, what about for that
No.
big old base that we were talking about earlier?
I guess
There's a
we
price
won't-
on everything.
Listen, I mean, yeah, there's a price for everything, bro, but not at the expense of my mental health and sacrificing time with my family.
Amen.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because listen,
Amen.
listen, then you could go in for a higher base or whatever, but then you got to take into account, I got to spend on gas. Gas is expensive.
Yeah.
Got to spend on dry cleaning. I got to dry clean my clothes.
Daycare.
I got to spend on eating out for lunch and things like that. So those are things that I'm like, thanks, but no thanks. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have, I bond with my coworkers on Zoom, and then once a month or once every other month, we'll be at the office chilling and doing work and collaborating in person, which is great. But I'll never, ever, ever go back into the office full time.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Full
Same.
stop. So my viewpoint on that is whenever I was in an office, like my very first job, I got nothing done because my ADD was like, woohoo, people everywhere, yay!
Well, yeah,
Like, what is this whole
there's a lot
work
of
concept?
there's a lot of distraction.
Yes,
There's a lot of
yes.
distraction.
And I would go home and get my work done. So it's like I'm working like a 9 to 5. I wasn't working the 9 to 5. I was, as we say, Chewy, I was dicking around 9 to 5.
Yo,
Sorry.
the people who know. I'm
Yeah.
gonna leave it at that.
It's a phrase. So I was dicking around 9 to 5 in the office, and then I would have to come home, get home after happy hour because that was like a religious Monday through
Yeah.
Friday thing at this company. I get home at like 6:30, and then I would be staring at my computer until I fell asleep, and there was no work-life balance. So
Yeah.
that absolutely not.
That's a good call out with the work-life balance. I mean, when you work from
Yeah.
home, you get that balance back because, well, you're at home, but then you're also at work, but then you're more productive too because you don't have to worry about your commute. You don't have to worry about dressing up. You don't have to worry about having
Sorry, pants? No.
having to put deodorant on or whatever. Like you could smell BO all day if you want to, bro. Like you're working from home, but as long as you're productive, that's all that really matters. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
As long as you're getting your job done, whatever.
100%.
done.
So here we go.
Bless me.
We are gonna do Susanna Fraser with Bullion of the Day, y'all. Here we go.
Boolean of the day. Hashtag Boolean is sexy.
Yes.
Yes, I said it. Okay, so there's a little story behind that hashtag, and y'all might be able to correct me on some of this story talk, but I was on stage. I believe I was keynoting SourceCon in Seattle, and I get very nervous whenever I am presenting and tend to ramble, kind of like I am doing on this podcast, but just a free talker. And I think one of the questions from the audience was like, how did you go about winning all these hackathons? Like, what's the magic trick? What's the tool? Boolean. Straight up, just Google Boolean, advanced syntax, X-ray, whatever. Just freaking Boolean is literally the number one tool, trick, skill, etc. That I have used to have success in my career.
I like to call Boolean the programming language of choice for
Yeah.
sourcers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think
Yeah,
so.
but that sounds really complicated, and like Boolean is really not complicated.
It isn't. But listen, some people fuck up the syntax. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I don't really understand like how, but kudos to me, right? Like, and just like whatever, like don't overthink it. Boolean is sexy, and for whatever reason, that has kind of stuck. So here
Bouillon.
is the Susanna and her bouillon. No,
Bouillon.
no,
Beef
no.
bouillon.
Booyah! Okay, so let me share my screen real quick and walk us through this. So
Let's do
we're
it.
going to call this like the hashtag Boolean is sexy segment of the podcast.
I love it.
For those of you just listening and not watching, I'm going to talk us through this really quickly. So on my screen, we are at google.com. And for this particular Boolean string, I'm going to use LinkedIn. So there's lots of different ways that you can use Boolean and use cases, but in this particular hashtag Boolean is sexy segment, I'm going to be searching for a promo code to a conference. And the most upcoming conference that I can think of right now is RecFest. So that is in September, by the way. Okay, so by searching, open parentheses, promo, all caps, or space, code, in parentheses, space, RecFest.
I love it. Hey, Susanna, for the
Yes,
people that don't know out there, why do we capitalize the ors and the ands?
We capitalize because, you know, no cap, you have to. No, I don't know how to use those words.
What?
Yeah, I'm not Superfly. I'm Superfly. Okay, so we capitalize them because we have to.
It's
So
just
and
proper
or
syn-
and not capitalize always,
right.
or else they don't exist. Okay, so open parentheses promo space capital or space code in parentheses space RecFest. And the reason why I chose to do promo or code is because it doesn't have to say promo code for RecFest. Some people say, you know, use my promo or here's the
Yeah.
code. So I just kind of use both of those words. So promo or code space RecFest. Doodaloo. Gotta love the Doodaloo music in my head that is now out loud.
I'm gonna
Okay,
pause you.
so-
I'm gonna pause you. Pause. So
It's just a train of thought.
space equals implied and, right? So you did not.
I
put
don't do
and.
that. So I firm don't do that. I always type out the and
So do I.
because
You never
yeah.
know.
Okay.
yeah, it just kind of helps me like break up my. Oh, so you want me to put an and right here? Then,
Yeah, like
is
you
what you're
didn't,
saying.
but like people might
Oh.
know that that didn't mean and
Sure.
just by doing a space. Got it.
So
Mm,
yeah, I see a CC. So good call out. And here I am, like I always use and. I don't in that context, but I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, so the first post that pops up here, blah, blah, blah. I see if I haven't purchased tickets already, head over to promo code RecFest Chris for a 50% discount. So ta-da, all of a sudden, with one little Boolean string, I have already knocked down my ticket cost for a conference by 50%. So that's
amazing.
awesome. But here you can see where this poster has called out RecFest UK
Ah,
and RecFest USA. So
so that's
if I wanted
Yep.
to be a little bit more particular, I could whittle down my little search here to just post, and then I could sort by the latest and then show results. And as you can see, here is another 50% off promo code. And this one, hey, let's use our noggins here. So this one just says code, so it doesn't say promo. So promo code, blah blah blah. There's lots of different ways that you can say it. So ta-da! There's your 50% off promo codes for RecFest. And guess what? You can
Wow.
use it for SourceCon too. Ta-da!
amazing.
Okay, stop
I wish
sharing.
my bank account was set up for RecFest because I ain't gonna be going, bruh.
that was the
Oh.
best.
Oh my
50%
god,
off, bruh.
man.
Yeah.
That was awesome, Susanna.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Boolean is sexy.
Boolean master.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That.
Oh,
I love it.
oh, it's
I
a
love it.
Boolean master. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's freaking awesome.
Oh,
Um,
so why is Boolean master?
Yeah, I love it.
Oh
So,
no, that was the first snort of the show.
wow, there it
Yeah,
is.
that's
There it
sexy
is.
sauce.
Excellent.
Amazing.
All right. So, how about we talk story, guys? What do you say?
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. I guess I'll start, and I'll try to keep this short and sweet. But if some of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Chewidian, aka Chewy, aka M3, aka M3Z, aka the Funky Filipino. For those of you who know that I DJ, got my start in the industry answering an ad because I was working for my dad at the time, trying to find accounting business because he had his own consultancy, and came across this ad for an accountant that was needed to do P&L and all that good stuff. I went over there to go see about that account, and it was actually a recruiting agency called Priority Staffing. As I was talking to the guy, he's like, "Hey, have you ever considered a career in recruiting?" I was like, "You know what?" I go, "I actually have, trying to like figure out how to get into this industry." And he's like, he goes, why don't you talk to my boss? And from there, in 2006, a recruiter was born. And in the first 2 weeks, I got my first two placements, and the rest is history. And I fell in love
Oh
with the
my
recruiting
gosh.
industry. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, that's
Two
like
placements in 2 weeks.
I know,
two
right? What were
placements
you
in 2 weeks,
recruiting?
man.
Woo!
Yeah,
What
that's
was the
straight
role?
boss level right
That's my
there.
boy.
I
Yeah, and
know.
so yeah, that was awesome, and then I just fell in love with it, right? So I was there for about a year and a half until I got fired because one of the owners like threw me under the bus. She thought I threw her under the bus, and so I ended up getting fired. And I was like, oh man,
No.
whatever. I was like, okay, so I decided to start my own recruiting firm, I guess you could say, and I called it Synergy Solutions. Synergy
Oh,
Solutions Group.
Okay.
Synergy was born. I started recruiting for like skilled maintenance workers, maintenance mechanics, maintenance electricians, things like that. My friend who I DJ'd with said, "Hey," because he used to work at the LA Times, and he was like, "Hey,
Oh,
I'm building a team over here. I was wondering if you could help me find some C sharp developers, C sharp software
oh
engineers."
wow.
so you
I was like,
contracted
"Yeah,
for the
yeah."
LA Times?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't
No
even contract.
shit.
It was a 1099, right? So, like, and he was like a software engineer at the LA Times, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm building a team here, and I need four software developers that specialize in C sharp." I was like, "Sure, I'll do it." And so I ended up placing like I think four people, and that was
When
the
was
start of.
this?
This was back in
20.
90.
Oh, back
No, I'm sorry, not 90. 2000,
in the day.
2007,
Okay.
2008-ish. And like,
Okay.
yeah. And so I got my four placements in tech, and I was like, I really
This is
like tech.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's when my tech recruiting was born. And then
Huh.
from there, I had that for like 3 years, and I just really couldn't
Dude,
like
I didn't realize that because my sourcing start was at the LA Times.
Oh
oh,
what?
And
really?
I didn't realize, yeah, that's my first official
Oh my
sourcing
gosh.
job was for Tribune Publishing, which is LA
Yeah,
Times,
yeah.
Chicago
The
Tribune,
Tribune.
Baltimore Sun. Yeah, and I built out their first sourcing function.
That is
Oh,
so
So
shit.
cool.
That's
I didn't
wild.
realize that. I didn't realize we had that in common.
And
We have
that's
so
Yeah.
much in common.
Wow, look at that. See, this is why we here. So ended up getting this contract role with Comcast, and that's kind of how I got my start in the corporate world recruiting. And this was back in like 2009,
Oh,
I think, 2010. And then I was there for a little bit. Obviously my contract ended, and then I went with a company called SAI. It was a big boutique firm, and they wanted me to kind of recruit tech for them. And that's kind of, I continued my corporate corporate recruiting career there. And that's kind of where I met and started getting into Twitter and started building my brand. And like, I was
nice.
known. Yeah, I was known back then as the Rad Recruiter. It was wild. So the Rad Recruiter, yeah, I
Rad.
started a brand,
that's so
dude. It
rad.
was my brand was popping, like popping. So, anyways, so like I started this blog called the Rad Recruiter, and I would do like these really snarky blogs, right? And snarky posts. And so I got pretty well known for that, and I kind of built my brand. And along the way, I met all kinds of people. Like I met
Yeah.
Steve Levy. I met Lori Ruettimann. Like it was wild.
Yeah.
Like, that was, I mean, y'all know who Lori Ruettimann is. But
She's
like,
amazing.
yeah, she's awesome.
She's
So
girl
like,
power.
yeah, I got a story about that. But anyway, so like, so I started building my brand, and I just started meeting all these people. That's how I met Derek Zeller. Rest in
Oh,
peace,
nice.
Derek.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's how I met
Praise
Derek,
bless.
and finally got to meet him in person. I just met all kinds of people, like people like Aaron, Aaron Daniels. Shout out to my boy Aaron, and
Aaron. Hey,
all that,
Aaron.
all the
Oh,
Houston gang, Manali, and like Josh Jones.
yeah.
Josh
Shout out to those
Jones.
people, bro. Like, they really like kind of influenced me and kind of how we were going. But anyway, during that time when I was with SAI, I went to Recruit Baltimore, and Shannon Pritchett, or Shannon Van Kuren at the time, was the keynote at Recruit Baltimore. So anyways, I met her at Recruit Baltimore, and I was so enamored with her presentation about sourcing and how, she found people. I was like jaw drop. Anyways, we had lunch. We had lunch, just me and her, and she was so nice and so gracious. And we had lunch together at Recruit Baltimore. We just had this really good conversation, and that's kind of when our friendship started. And from then on, I had just like looked to her as like kind of, a big influence in kind of how it shaped my sourcing career, where I wanted to go.
Totally.
So from that point on, I'm like, bro, I want to be a sourcer, because that's where like all the fun work is being done.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of where it started for me for sourcing. And from then on, I went from SAI, went back to agency. It was kind of like a boutique agency in Baltimore. Yeah. Dude, for like freaking 2 months. I was like, I'm
Yep,
not
still
about
like
this.
it. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm not about this life. And then I went to another agency 6 months until I got called for a contract role at Deloitte. And from
Oh,
that point
wow.
on, and from that point on, like I was getting paid. They said, we'll pay you $50 an hour. I was like, damn, okay. Like, so like
Shut up and
$50
take
an
my money.
hour. And like, that's like, I was like, damn, that's like real money. I don't even have to place. I'm not even placing. They're like paying me to like sort or recruit for $50 an hour, and I don't have to like keep a book of clients and have this book of like candidates. You know how it is in agency, right? So anyways, so from there, that's where my career just kind of took off, and it was like boom, 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 boom. And this was like around 2014. But let me kind of go back to 2012, because 2012 was when I went to my first, or was it 2013? 2012, 2013, I forget. That was when I went to my first SourceCon in Atlanta, and that's where I met Jim Stroud. Shout out, Jimmy. You are the man, dude. I love you, brother.
Jim, we love
So
you.
Jim met Jim Stroud. I met Lance Hahn. I met Lori Ruettimann, which is a crazy story, because like I was like entering one of the main rooms, and like this small woman comes up to me. She's like, "You're Mike Schwittian." I was like, "Lori?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like so stunned, like that, because I had already built kind of a brand for myself, and she had
So
come up to
rad.
me. Shout out to Lori Ruettimann. We'd love to have you on the show, by the way, because we think you're pretty awesome. So there's
2024.
that. But anyways, so like I just met all kinds of people. That's where I kind of met Amy Beth too. And then all like Mark Tortorici was there, Steve Levy was there, Dean DaCosta was there. So it was kind of like a star-studded thing. And eventually all these people became my friends. And I can't thank these guys enough for like,
Aw.
kind of shaping my career and being where I am today. And if it wasn't for these people, then I wouldn't be here, sitting here talking to you guys, having this awesome podcast. So shout out to y'all. Derek Zeller, rest in peace. And all the others that have come and crossed paths with and developed a friendship. Shout out to you guys, because because of you, I'm here today, and it isn't, so I'm super, super thankful. But anyways, so after Deloitte, I went to Sears. I worked for Donna Dolph. Shout out Donna Dolph. I love you. Miss working for you, but she was my boss at Sears Holdings. And then from Sears Holdings, it went to Lowe's. She took me and the team with her to Lowe's. And then from Lowe's is when I went to Walmart. And Walmart is where Susanna and I started working. And then we had the dream team with like Michael Krause. We had Angie Veros. Shout out Angie.
Veros.
Angie,
Love-
I love you, Angie.
Yes.
Love you, Angie. So Angie, Tom Ordonez, shout out to my man, to Tom Ordonez. Who else? Who else is on that team? Susanna?
Kenny, little snack.
Oh
Kenny,
yeah,
little snack.
Kenny, my man Kenny, who I'm working with today. Like shout out to my man Kenny. And then
Sweet Lenore.
yeah, and then Lenore was on that team.
Yeah, we had a lot of really
we had
wonderful.
a lot of good people. Garrick, shout out to Garrick. He was on that team as well. Obviously,
And
Amy
Jeff
Beth.
Newman.
Jeff Newman, shout out to Jeff Newman as well. I mean, these are like awesome people. So from Walmart, got laid off during COVID. Went to had the whole
that broke my
summer off.
heart.
I know that was
Womp.
rough. That was rough. So from Walmart I had the summer off obviously because during COVID. Then I got hooked up. Shout out to Stacy Broadwell. Shout out to Stacy Broadwell. Thank you. You've been just so gracious, and thank you for all of your help getting me to Uber. And then from Uber, I went to Anaplan. Shout out to Matt Zanuski. Then yay, Matt. I love Matt. Matt, you're awesome. And then from Anaplan, then from Anaplan, Amy Beth called me and she's like, I want you over here. Leading the machine learning and data science sourcing. I was like, I'm there. So I've been at ServiceNow. I'm here. I've been at ServiceNow since 2021. So it's been a little over 2 years. I love it here at ServiceNow. And it's just great. 4-time SourceCon speaker. My first gig was in California. That was Shannon produced. Shout out to Shannon again. And that was also a connect from Jeremy Roberts. So shout out to Jeremy Roberts. So SourceCon 2016, that was my debut in California. And then my second one was in 2017. That was Vegas. That was when I met Susanna, right? And then my third one was
2019. Or did you just say that?
Yeah, so California, Vegas, Atlanta, right, where I keynoted, and then I keynoted in 2021 for a virtual for SourceCon, and then I emceed. Yeah, that's right. And so and then I virtually emceed and in person emceed for the last SourceCon this past spring. So
in Dallas.
And listen, shout out to the SourceCon community, because you guys, if it wasn't for this community, I wouldn't be where I am today, and all the people that I've met and developed awesome friendships with, including you guys. So shout out to you, Susanna and Carrie. But thank you. I know I've gone on for like 13,000 hours, but like, I had to get it in. I know a lot of this stuff is going to be cut, but I'm going to stop my story. So I know that wasn't.
Well, man, you're an OG. You're an OG. You got a lot of story to tell, brother.
A lot of stories, man. I got more stories, man. We'll talk about those a little bit.
Hold on, Chewy. On that note, would you please share why are we calling this Talk Story?
So Talk Story. So I have a lot of friends. So I grew up in California, but I had a lot of friends that came from Hawaii that I surfed with, bodyboarded with, and a lot of them came from Hawaii. Have a lot of good friends in Hawaii, and still to this day we're still like, it's almost like family, So, but anyways, in Hawaii they talk Hawaiian Pidgin, which is kind of like it's like broken English, right?
Pigeon, like the bird. Did you say pigeon, like the bird?
Like no, it's spelled Pidgin.
Pigeon.
So pigeon.
So it's like pigeon, like the bird.
Yeah, okay. It's almost like there's in Jamaica they call it pigeon too, but it's Jamaican pigeon.
Oh,
right?
But
So
hey,
it's the same like
hey,
how they talk, like how the Jamaicans talk. So how the
it's
Hawaiians talk, like there's like a kind of like tone to it. Like so if they ask a question, hey, so where you going? Oh, what, bro? Hey, you like talk story? Oh yeah, sure, man. Hey, it's going like so like that's like the thing. Like it's not like hey I got something to tell you. Like hey bro, let's talk story. Okay, let's talk story then. So like that's how kind of
so it's like shooting the shit.
yeah, like it's like shooting the shit, right? Let's talk
brother.
story.
Who's next?
All right, Cece, what's your story?
Um,
Morning Glory.
So I actually feel like I say this story often, and I actually wrote a blog on it for SourceCon of like how I
When?
got into sourcing. It was like one of my first ones I ever did. So like I feel like I'm on a repeat when I tell this story, but I fell into recruiting, which I feel like everybody did. I was an agency. My brother got me the job, Gordon Collier. Shout out to my brother, who's also a sourcer at Walmart. I wanted to work with him. He got me my job at Land America, my first like real job out of college. And
Aw.
I worked as an HR customer service rep. And then I wanted to do what he did. And so I tried, but they were like nepotism policy. Although he would not be one of me. So I don't know if he was like, I just don't want to work with my sister. Tell her no. Or if that was true, whatever. But he's like, hey, I work for this, or I have this friend that he had used to work with that at the time was working for, I guess it was Apex back then.
Yeah.
But there was a sister company called AVI Staffing. And it was like, do you want to go into sales or do you want to go into management? And I was like, I definitely don't want to do sales. And then I was like, sure, management. Didn't know if that was my thing. And so I was like, I'll do it. So then I went into AVI Staffing and got the job. And that company eventually got absorbed back into Apex. So we were like this office in Richmond that didn't have a large customer anymore because that's who we were supporting at the time. So they didn't know what to do with us. So it ultimately became like this like R&D shop where like people had ideas of like how can we impact recruiting for our customers, and so they were like, let's do overflow recruiting. And that was where like our branch offices had too many recs that they couldn't get to, so they came to our office and we worked them. And so that stuck around for a little while. I don't even know if they still do that. But then specialty recruiting came into it. So like that kind of became a thing. And this was 2007, so around that time frame. And so they decided that I was going to be an SAP
Ooh.
recruiter. And I just did not understand that at all. The 50 million modules it had, it was programmed in ABAP, which is ABAP. Don't say
Oh
ABAP.
yeah, I know it. I know it.
Yeah. And so,
I
I
always
don't.
thought ABAP because I love ABAP because it's like
yeah,
boom bap. You know what I
right.
mean?
So
Totally.
all those engineers are in Germany, not in the US. So that was fun. And I just didn't get it. And it was like me and this other girl, and we became really close. And she ultimately went in for another job. And then I guess I sucked at it. I don't really know what happened, but they were like, "Oh, let's give her Java." So then I became part of the Java specialty group, and that's when we started recruiting nationally Java engineers. So I did that for a while, and then they decided, well, let's have Carrie focus on one branch, one type of position. It was almost like sourcing, and I didn't know that that was sourcing back then, but it was, and I was really good at it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
I just sourced people in Georgia for our customer telecom company. That's who I focused mainly on. And anybody else that I found that replied that wasn't a fit for my customer who I was supposed to be focused on, I could dish out to my other account managers and other recruiters. So it's like sourcing. I mean, I just really didn't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so did that for a little while. It was very successful. I just got burnt out because it was like Java, 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 same
Oh
client
yeah.
over and over
Oh
and
yeah.
over. Like, and
Dime a dozen.
yeah, and then metrics, so staffing agency was just like it was a lot.
It's the worst. It's literally like, listen, here's the deal. Like I always say, like, if you could survive in agency, oh my gosh, like corporate is like a freaking cakewalk, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's just such a grind. And like I feel like it's like the stepping stone to be in corporate because you don't have to deal with like, oh, you gotta you got to have like 4 placements a month to like keep your job, or you got to make 250 dials per week, and
Right.
like this.
So, loaded question for both of you. If you were hiring a recruiter on your team, would you prefer somebody with a corporate background or an agency background, or a hybrid of both?
Whew.
For a sourcer though, like sourcing role.
Let's do recruiter,
Okay.
Recruiter.
because most
Go ahead,
agencies have recruiters typically, not sourcers.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a preference.
Or would you have a preference?
I don't know that I'd have a preference because I have to talk to the person. But
Totally.
the amount of hustle behind an agency recruiter and just getting shit done, doing what it takes,
Totally.
is like
100%.
120%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to say that
100%.
not to say that somebody from like a corporate role isn't or has never worked in
But somebody
corporate.
that's been in corporate all their life.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't know the grind, bro.
The grind. I guess that's it. So if you can give me a grind story. that could
Correct.
be
So
helpful.
I was in a situation with a previous company where we were not considering recruiters with agency backgrounds. I was like, are y'all tripping?
Wow.
Like,
No.
I don't understand.
Interesting.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
Like,
it just
y'all are
brings-
making it too easy for me to be the high performer here. Let's not bring in
real.
any with an agency
Wild.
background.
I
Like,
wouldn't
shoot.
even.
But it's
Like,
like
that's like
sink or
a-
swim. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
What'd
no,
you
I
say?
feel like it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like you know,
Yeah,
you
like that's
take,
not a
right? Like you take somebody who has worked their ass off in agency, as opposed to someone who's been in corporate, like kind of sitting there waiting on recs, things like that. Like that shit is easy. Like we
Yeah.
all could do that in our sleep, right?
Yeah.
But you take somebody who's from
Well, we
agency that
can.
can bring them into the corporate world, they're absolutely gonna crush it. They're
Yeah.
absolutely gonna crush it.
Well, not guaranteed, but
Right.
yes,
Like,
at least
for the
worth
most
a
part.
conversation.
And that's what you have to screen out for. That's where the interview process and like having the right questions to ask is really important. But anyways, I
Yes.
know we have
Okay,
more
sorry.
stories, so I just want to and I can talk a lot too, so I want to keep going.
Mhm.
But after that Georgia role, I did leave the company. I went to Keurig. I did manufacturing plant from the ground up. I got to see it from a
Dang.
literally concrete slate to like a fully functioning coffee
Oh
plant.
shit. That's
Fully
dope.
Cool.
totally female led leadership team. It was like the coolest experience I've ever had in my life. I learned a lot. I was full life cycle still. Funny, they put me through like this HR certification or HR recruiting certification program. What was it through? ADP or something like that. And it was all about sourcing. Again, not really something I
Yeah.
could have used in that profession. And I didn't really know what I was into yet. Got pregnant, had my son, freaked out, needed to come back home, be remote. Asked Apex if they would take me back, and they did. I was a high performer, and I guess I didn't burn bridges, which is great. And so they took me back, and I kind of jumped right back into this SWAT team recruiter role where they airdropped me into breaking accounts. And then this is where my story comes in for sourcing, where my client was big box company, and my boss was telling me, we need to break this account, but you can't use job boards. You can't use LinkedIn. And I was like, what the fuck is that? How do you even recruit without that? And he's like, because this particular client, if they have spoken to the person literally in 2 months, even if they told them no, they are going to claim that candidate and we can't have them. Don't lock them up.
Yeah.
Don't submit them. And I was like, how
Yeah.
do you do that?
How you do that?
Yeah. So he's like, just do some research. And at that time, he's like, check out Intello, check out Talent Bin, if you remember Monster's product. And so I wish I remember the guy's name, but that's where I got introduced to the importance of your messaging. And that was at Talent Bin. And he was like, here's an article I wrote. And it was all about customizing your message and having fun subject lines. And I was like, what? That's crazy. That's not going to work. And then I started doing it, and then it did work. And then they had conferences or free webinars, and Steve was probably on there. Dean was on there. Y'all were probably on there. Didn't know who you were yet. And started following all the free stuff. And I was like, what is this world? This is super stalky. And I was like, I love this. Because my degree
This is super stalky. I love this.
this is so fun.
I feel that.
Yes. And so my education was criminal justice, and I never really used it. And I was like, cool, well, this makes sense now. I'm
There
literally
it is.
trying to
CSI
find people. Yeah.
action.
The PI part. And so I found out I remember Facebook, what was it, the graph and how you could
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Facebook graph. Yeah.
and there was that
Manipulate the graph.
yeah, and then there was
Yeah.
an extension or a site we could go to, but then like right after that, Facebook nixed it and we weren't able to use it anymore. I digress. I started getting really into it. I thought it was Recruiting Daily, and Katrina Kibben was the host at the time.
Yay,
Yeah.
Katrina. Shout out to Katrina Kibben.
Shout out to Katrina. And you know, one thing that really stuck
And
out to me?
turkey.
You know, like the
Yes.
little things that like really stick in your brain. Like I remember you guys know I ask every single question that pops in my head, like even if it's stupid, and even if I know the answer and it
Love
was like
that.
2 minutes ago, like I just go with questions. And so she'd be like, Carrie Collier has a question, but she would like say my name on a webinar, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then eventually I kept asking, and then Steve was like, oh, there's Carrie Collier, yeah, whatever. And I was
Yep.
like, oh my god, they know my name. And so then I got on a position. I was still at Apex, and it was for clearance.
I
So
remember that.
shout out to Derek Zeller
Yep.
again, because I posted on SourceCon, I need help. And they were like, Derek. And then Derek's like, here's my phone number, call me. And I was like,
I love him. Like him and Steve, they're the most engaging,
Pick up the phone,
like
network,
most
help
open.
a brother
Like,
out.
Steve,
Yeah.
listen, hey Steve, shout out to Steve Levy. I love you, brother. I love you, Unk. But sometimes this dude, like, he'll never do, like, he doesn't like texting.
no.
He always wants to get on the phone. He's old school. I get it. You know,
Yes.
but that's what I love about him, though.
Yes.
That's what I love about him. And he's helped me so much. And I think, and I'm sure that he's helped you. Well, because
Oh my
I was
God.
like, well, I told you, I was like, dude, call Steve. He'll totally
Yeah.
talk to you.
Always.
Because he's just like that, you know?
And that's the thing, like, I never knew that this community, so this, long story short, found out that there was this community of SourceCon people that wanted to share all the like tips and tricks, and like being mostly agency where you like guard every little thing that you know and every single candidate you have, because you want them, they're yours,
Yes.
you want the credit, nobody else. Like, it was just so weird that people were so ready to share information, and I was just like, this is insane. And so I was like, I belong here. So then I obsessed, for like 2 years, 3 years, to my boss, Darren, can I please go to SourceCon? It's just not in the budget, Carrie, maybe next year. Another one came up. Darren, can I please go? Nope, still can't do it. And then like next year, I was like, please, I know I've asked you every year, and I'm always going to ask you every year. And he was like, well, let me see what I can do. So then they were able to let me go. And that was the 2019 one where I was able to meet y'all. And or no, that one was 2018. I came on the 2019 one and met y'all there. But then I met y'all.
Wait,
then,
what was the your first SourceCon was 2018?
No, it was 2019. I spent the whole pandemic trying to find a job. I did get an offer, healthcare company local, and it was right when we locked down in March. And they still wanted me to come into the office like once a week. And I was like, that's weird. I don't know. And then every night applying, easy apply, LinkedIn apply. Because I did talk to my company. I told them what I wanted to do. I told them I wanted to start a sourcing function. And they were like, it's just not in the business plan, but this is something else we could do. And I was like, that's not what I want to do. Like, I knew I wanted to do sourcing. And so
Good for you.
I ended up applying, obviously, to Appian, and I ended up talking to Ian at the time. And he was like, so hype about sourcing role. That's how I got into sourcing. So here I am.
I love it. I love it. And now, Carrie, you're speaking at HRTX.
Yeah.
You're like, Welcome Wagon. I mean, you're kind of like a mainstay in our HRTX. Like, you've spoken like what, 4 or 5 times already?
Yeah, they
Like-
like me. They keep asking me to come back. And
Yeah, it's freaking like
They
that
love
just
me.
speaks
They
to-
really like me.
that speaks to your greatness. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, this is
I
why.
agree.
Thanks,
you know,
y'all.
Yeah, y'all listen. You two are two of the smartest girls that I know in the sourcing community. Like, literally,
Oh,
you
I
guys.
love the
blow me-
caveat in the sourcing community.
I love. yes. I love how I seriously, like, I just
No
love
full
the
stop
way
in the sourcing community.
there is no full stop. But I just love the way you guys articulate things better than I ever can.
Wow.
Chewy, that's ridiculous.
Right?
That is like
Circles, you mean?
that is not
Yeah.
a strength of mine.
But like, seriously, you guys really, really kill it, man.
Thank
And
you.
it's really cool to see, especially you, Carrie, because like, I mean, Susanna, I mean, we'll hear about your story here in a couple minutes, but like, you guys are just incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible.
What
So,
you say is what you are, boo.
Yes. Yes.
oh man. Thanks.
As I said, I would not do this podcast with anybody else.
Yeah.
'Cause y'all make me feel accepted.
Oh,
and
I love
I
it.
can let my freak flag fly.
100. Let's talk story, Susanna. Let's get it.
Oh, Susanna, tell a story to me. Whee! Doodly-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay, I actually don't know all the words to that song, which is ridiculous. Okay, so back in the day, pour yourselves a fresh brouhaha. Really like that word too, brouhaha. Okay, so as we touched on earlier, I love how like Chewie leans in. He's like, "Oh yeah, girl."
Ready for it.
Okay. So, as we kind of touched on earlier, I went to school for engineering, graduated with business degree because
What
I
kind
could
of
not pass
engineering?
chemistry.
For the people who don't
I went
know.
to school for industrial engineering, so like
Wow.
process improvement. Yeah.
Neat.
Which
Oh, wow.
good question, because usually I like leave it as like the elusive engineering. People are like, "Oh, okay, software engineering," but I do know how to code, so whatever. So yeah, I actually went for industrial engineering, which for me, like, what tickled my geek brain about that was like process improvement. How do you work smarter, not necessarily harder?
Yeah.
And that has been a theme throughout my career. How do we work smarter, not harder?
Yeah.
So, I couldn't pass chemistry to save my life, and would have helped if I had actually gone to class, but you know that wasn't an option in college either. So I had a full ride for engineering, and then I ended up graduating with a business degree. I was like, FML, what do I do with my life? I have no idea. I was getting my hair cut, and you know, sharing my woes with my hairdresser, and she said, "Hey, my husband is actually an internal recruiter at Tech Systems. Since you can talk tech, and you have a personality, and you know you're a female or what have you, like why don't you try that? I'll set you up at the interview." And I ended up accepting the job on the spot,
Wow.
and I was there for about a year, and I absolutely hated it.
That was Tech
Absolutely
Systems,
freaking
right?
hated it. Say what?
That was Tech Systems.
That was Tech Systems, yes. And the reason why I hated it was because, well, there were a couple of reasons, but the primary one was I was expected to hit better numbers than the person next to me by doing the exact same thing as they were, and I did not have any autonomy to work creatively because I saw ways to, you know, digitally be like a social recruiter as opposed to just like a Rolodex like Smile and Dialer. That
Now,
was
for
not
the
me.
people who don't know out there, Susanna, what does social recruiting mean?
So, marketing positions. Oh, good question, by the way. Marketing positions online. You know, as we said, LinkedIn influencer. So posting, you know, about the positions themselves, not just Smile and Dial.
Yeah.
So fun fact, not fun fact. Well, it turns into a fun fact. Spoiler alert. So my very first time that I picked up a phone at Tech Systems, it had actually been like 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
And I was so resistant, and my DBO said, "We're going to fire you. You have to pick up the phone." So I cried at my desk with the phone in my hand, trembling, like I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I don't know what this
Yeah.
role means, because I'm a very much like a want to know it all person. And so I wanted to know like what jobs I'm like recruiting for. Like, let me be able to talk the talk because I don't understand.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I got to suck it up because people are literally breathing down my neck right now with the phone in my hand and I'm crying. So my DBO pulls up, you know, like a call list, and he's like, "Start at the top." I'm
Yeah.
like, my base is not big enough for this, and I'm making no commission. So I picked up my phone, I cried a little bit. Finally, I dialed the numbers of Andrew Jackson was his name. And he picked up the freaking phone on the first ring.
Yeah, you're like, dang
And
it.
I'm like, he said, "Hello?" I'm like, is this President Andrew Jackson?
No.
And he was like, he goes, "Well, it's Andrew Jackson." I was like, like, that was my icebreaker, President Andrew Jackson. I was just like, "Shoo, I'm glad that I know my president." Whatever. Bruh, he got hired. First freaking call, got hired. It was a COBOL developer in Fort
Whoa,
Knox.
Cobalt.
Wow, Cobalt. Of all
Uh-huh.
things.
Cool.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
He moved here for the job.
And he moved?
it fell through.
No.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Ew, that's a
So,
worst.
but I ended up getting him hired on at the state of Kentucky. So
Wow.
anyway, yes, that is my horror story turned good, turned bad, turned good again. Goody. So I couldn't stand tech systems. Fun fact also, that is where I met my husband. He was in sales and I was a recruiter. So I guess that's also a testament for my dicking around at the office. But some things work out, boo. So he's actually still in staffing.
Wow.
So it's kind of, and he's old school. So it's interesting that we're able to collaborate on that sort
He
of
got the Rolodex out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Rolodexer and I'm just like rolling on deck. I don't know, whatever. What do I want to do with my life? I'm still in that figure out mode, and ended up, I was like, I love teaching. And my dad was health wise really not in good shape, cancer. And all he wanted for me in my life was to be able to financially support myself and not be dependent on a man and always have something to fall back on. So he was very adamant that I, go back and get like a teaching certificate or something that I would have in my back pocket. So I enrolled to get my master's in education. And I was like, how the hell do I pay for this? And so I went back to agency, and I was a recruiter as well as a full-time master's student.
Wow.
And then I was taking care of my dad full-time.
Whoa.
And yeah, it was a lot. So I ended up being recruited away from my full-time job, though, by the LA Times.
Oh.
There you
there
go,
it is.
Chewy. Into my first sourcing role. And so that was LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Baltimore Sun. They brought me in and I ended up standardizing the workflow across 8 different business units.
Wow.
That was like my first task, which at the time I was like, holy heck, like, why me? And also, like, I didn't realize that there were 8 different recruitment workflow operating systems to even pick and choose from. So that was a big task, and I am totally up for a challenge. So I was successful at that, and then ended up being able to build out their first sourcing function.
Cool.
So meanwhile, I went from being a master's student for education to actually teaching full-time in a classroom. I was teaching kindergarten.
I remember that. You told me that. Yeah.
I did not go back to my next year of teaching. And then I ended up following my boss from Tribune Publishing over to Universal Music Group. His name was Sean Rader. I absolutely love the man. And he was the one who introduced me to SourceCon. And the very first SourceCon that I attended was in Anaheim. And here I was like, I have this agency background. I'm building my first sourcing function. Like, I got this. Like, SourceCon. Like, here we come. And then I realized that there was so much that I didn't know. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's this whole world. And everybody, as Carrie said, everybody's so collaborative. Stop, collaborate, and listen.
Yep.
And it just wasn't like that agency environment. It was sharing is caring.
Yeah.
I ate it up. So I sit down at the first hackathon. And I'm like, all right, bitches, I got this. Honey, we were supposed to email our answers to the hackathon question into Shannon Pritchett. I typed in the wrong email address. Needless to say, I did not move on to the next round.
Oh my gosh, damn! I didn't even know that. That's wild.
Yeah,
wild. So you were your first SourceCon was my first speaking engagement at SourceCon. That is wild. Anaheim.
That is wild. Yep. Yeah, well, but they were back-to-back Anaheim.
They were back-to-back Anaheim. So
this was the first Anaheim.
The first Anaheim. So that was the one that I first spoke at, and then the second Anaheim. I don't know. Yeah, the second Anaheim was the following, because the first one in California was in the fall, and then the second one was in the spring, and that's the one that you won.
Yeah, so I came back the next time and I won that sucker.
Got the email code.
Yeah.
Just hands down. I was like,
and after that,
here to play. Like, double check my email addresses. Freaking.
Yeah. The legend.
And I wore my Hogwarts shirt for good luck.
Nice.
The legend of Susanna Fraser was born, and that was a wrap. And after that, she just literally took the sourcing world by storm.
Yeah.
And just has been this mainstay in the community. And she's I mean, she's the star of the
I'm like, podcast, no, thank you. So my story is very like that's where I peaked. But no, I ended up winning back-to-back hackathons. I got a significant salary increase for winning that hackathon, which was awesome.
Nice.
That's after my second
great.
SourceCon. I want to say, I was like, how do I continue learning outside of these conferences? Like, there's some wicked smart people here, like, that probably know everything that these speakers are dishing. What's the next level? And I was like, maybe it's like coding our own solutions to
Yeah.
sourcing,
Yep.
situations. And so I created the online community Sorcerers Who Code.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was fantastic because I don't know how to code much, but I created a community of people that do know how to code.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now if I ever have any coding questions, I just ask other people to do it for me.
Yeah,
Just sourcing
exactly.
my own
So yeah,
solutions.
and that's like kind of where you find the guys like Dennis Dinkovich and like
Oh my
even
heavens.
yeah,
Yes.
Aaron Lynch
Fantastic.
and
Andre
like
B.
Andre B. Like Andre
Andre
B is a
Beast,
fucking
man.
legend. He is such
Yes.
a legend. Like yeah,
Gosh.
shout out to Andre
Yes.
B, man.
Andre
Like,
Beast.
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
It's
man,
funny,
that
like-
guy.
Yeah.
So originally, though, whenever we created the community, Glenn Goopmacher, who another shout out to
Yeah.
Glenn,
Yep.
big guy, Glenn and Tom O were really like taking that community by storm.
Neat.
Yeah,
And Tom was the one who ended up recruiting me from. So I followed my boss to Universal Music Group, and Tom pulled me from Universal Music Group over to Walmart Ecom
yep,
to build out our dream team.
yep.
Neat.
The dream team, man.
And then going in rapid speed here, Walmart Ecom ended up building out their first talent sourcing research function. Got laid off because of COVID. Our entire department did. Went through a huge plummet in my self-worth and mental health related stuff because I associated like so much of my self-worth with my production at work.
Yeah.
And that was like a hard concept to kind of rewire my brain around, that, worth does not equal productivity.
Yeah.
That's still
Yep.
like,
Yeah,
are you for real? And then after that, I ended up consulting on my own at Sourcing FYI,
Yeah,
which I
remember
really like that
that.
name. And then I had bounced around with some contracts. Most recently got laid off at Village MD with Ronnie Bratcher. Shout out
Yeah.
to Ronnie.
Funny.
shout out to Ronnie
but again,
Bratcher,
The whole
Ronnie.
team was
That's awesome.
impacted. Love my Ronnie, man. He's speaking at SourceCon, just announced today.
Oh, good.
That's awesome. Yeah, shout out
Yeah.
to Ronnie, man. Ronnie, I love you, brother. I owe you a phone call. And I'm sorry for not
Oh.
returning your call, but yeah, Ronnie's my guy, man.
Ooh,
Yeah, he's awesome.
no, he's
and
my guy.
I
He's
I
the
learned
pow
so
to
much
my
from
wow.
Ronnie. Yeah, Ronnie is
Yeah.
he's amazing. He's so
Good person.
friendly and like he's just a great guy. He's just a great guy.
Ronnie's not particularly friendly because he's so shy, but he is the
Yeah.
nicest
He's
guy.
very nice. Very
Once
nice.
you like crack the little shell.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we always called like our one-on-ones powwow sessions because he was the pow and I was the wow.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
So now I'm at Heidelberg Materials, hopefully building out their first sourcing function. And
Love it.
actually, I was referred in by Dean DaCosta
Oh, nice.
and
out
ended
to
up
Dean.
getting that lead while I was most recently at SourceCon, helping co-host their hackathon. And outside of the SourceCon community, and just participating in their hackathons, I have helped host their hackathons. I have keynoted. I have done roundtables and just sessions in general.
So that's
And I've
awesome.
also, spoken at Sourcing Summit in Europe, in New Zealand. I've spoken in Canada, and et cetera, et cetera.
Man,
But
see,
I
you-
too have imposter
Well,
syndrome.
all over the place, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Okay,
know,
that's my story.
yeah,
That was
that's
long-winded. Sorry.
that was awesome. Listen, I just want to give a shout out to Shally too. Shally was super instrumental in like my career and kind of the advancement of my career. You know, he gave me a scholarship to the Sourcing Institute,
Oh,
which he
nice.
runs. And yeah, shout out to Shally, man. That was a big equalizer in my development of becoming the sorcerer that I am today. So shout out to Shally. But yo, this is it. Our first episode, guys.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh,
listen, you know, I started this podcast because I didn't think there was anything like it out there. You know, you've got Shally Zally, you got Katrina Collier. Shout out to Katrina Collier. I love you.
Oh yeah, sister.
You know, yeah, she's awesome. And you know, she had a show that she was doing. I know that shout out to Jackie too, Clayton. You know, in
Yep.
her podcast, all the you know, Inclusive AF podcast. You know, these are people that have had like an impact on our
Oh,
careers and things like
yeah.
that. But shout out to them. Like, but you know, this podcast is really different, and I think just to kind of bring the community together and laugh and tell stories and things like that. That's what this is all about. So thank you, Susanna and Carrie for you know, doing this with me. It's just such an honor that you guys are on this show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us,
And
man.
yeah, and so I'm really stoked that that we've come together and are doing this podcast. So with that being said, I want to announce the next podcast is going to be next week. So we get a bonus because this is going to be a bi-weekly podcast until further notice. But next week we're going to have another episode, but this is going to be our first episode with a guest. So our next guest, y'all are going to love her. You probably already know her, but she is a mover. She's a shaker. She is a straight beast at sourcing. And she just absolutely rocked the world when she came on stage as a keynote at SourceCon years ago. And her name is Maisha Cannon. And we cannot wait to have her on because she is just, not only is she a good human, but she is absolute beast at sourcing. And
she's
you guys
so
don't want to miss it.
captivating and engaging and
Love her.
personable and kind and
100%.
knowledgeable and welcoming and
100%. 100%.
All of those things.
So listen, next week another Bullying and Bruce podcast, and then we're gonna have our guest Maisha Cannon, and we're really looking forward to that. Some more TA news and things like that. We're gonna talk a lot of story, and it's gonna be a good one. So thank you all for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and you know, do all that stuff. Whatever you do. Down here, the link or whatever. I don't know what these guys and YouTubers do, but do that. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, Bullying and Bruce. Let's go.